Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who understand that there's more to entrepreneurship than finding the latest flash-in-the-pan strategies, who understand that in order to build your empire, you need a solid foundation. I wholeheartedly believe that entrepreneurship is the biggest self-development journey you can be on, and it's my mission to help you make that journey easier. In this show, I bring together the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist and mindset coach behind this show, and you're listening to the Wired for Success podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. And today I'm bringing you another interview episode. My guest today is retired obstetrician and gynecologist Karen Jones. For over 28 years, she had a thriving medical practice in Seattle, and she supported women with their healthcare needs, integrating the holistic with the medical. And during that time, she also studied mind-body connection, attended the Brennan School of Healing, and became an energy healing practitioner. But more recently, she was inspired to study feminine power and became a transformational facilitator. And today, she works even more deeply with the core issues of embodying the feminine in our world today. All her previous experiences in medicine, energy healing, and personal and spiritual growth have given her great insights, which she now shares in her programs, sessions, and speaking. So welcome, Karen, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I am really happy to be here with you today.
Awesome. It's great to have you. So I always like to start by letting my guests share a little bit about their backstory so that listeners understand where they're coming from and what inspired them to do what they do today. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about the journey that led you where you are today.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I suspect my story is pretty similar to a lot of our listeners' story. So basically, I got into medicine, went to medical school, all the good things. I didn't really know until, oh gosh, I guess it was my second year of college that I wanted to be a doctor. I was thinking something in the sciences because I was always good with science and math and all that. And then, just came to me, become a doctor. Good. So I went for that. And for a long time, it was very, very good. I had great time with my patients, learning how to do deliveries, learning how to do surgery. And then as I became more experienced, being actually kind of the preceptor for new doctors as they came on our staff, teaching residents, all of that. So it was really quite lovely. And during that time, I got married, had 2 kids, and
As you do.
all of the good stuff. So really what I would say, pardon me, I'm going to cough. So really what I would say is I had all the trappings of success. I did the success thing very, very well. But then an odd thing happened. I began to get more and more unhappy, and I didn't understand why I was no longer satisfied with what was going on. So I became, discouraged because here I was, a smart woman, and I couldn't figure it out. Here I was in a fulfilling job, and I wasn't feeling fulfilled anymore. I ended up, developing insomnia, got worse stress and anxiety, made some shifts in my work thinking, oh, there's something with my work I need to do different. So I made some shifts, really no change. And then finally I realized I needed to stop. And I had to give myself permission because I was telling myself a lot of stories about expectations I had or what I thought other people had, like my spouse. Why I couldn't just stop being a doctor. But I finally gave myself permission to stop and really began exploring more and more, and began to realize that I had been focused on success and not fulfillment and the differences between the two. And then really learned more and began to work with my own feminine power and how that enriches both my life and my career biz. And so now I started up my new business, basically coaching, guiding women who are successful but unhappy to really unleash that feminine power so they can create a truly meaning-filled and luscious life. Because I'm all about a luscious life and a life of meaning,
Yes,
along with success, because we can have it all.
exactly. This is such a common problem. It's something that I talk about as well, is this feeling of you've created something, but at some point you feel like almost like an empty shell. There's something missing. You're not quite sure what it is, but you feel that it's just not what you expected it to be. And for a lot of entrepreneurs, this causes them to fall in kind of like an identity crisis, where they experience this feeling of kind of like, I lost myself on the way, on the journey. Somewhere along the way, I lost touch with my true self. And that's where it gets really, really difficult. So, talk to me about feminine empowerment. How do you define it, and how does it help women lead a more fulfilling life?
Right. And this is for men too, because each of us has masculine and feminine aspects of us. And, in the best of all possible worlds, there's a balance, there's a partnership between those aspects of ourselves. So actually, I'm going to go define both of them. So what I call the masculine power is going to be, how a lot of us got to where into success. It's logical, it's linear, it's hierarchical, it's step by step. It works great. Like as soon as I realized I wanted to go to medical school, there's certain things you need to do, go to school with a particular set of majors, get a certain kind of grades, do a certain kind of wellness in your test taking, all of that. And there's some decisions to be made. So it works very well and has served us all. The feminine power, so it's basically comes from external. It's more top down. It's more outer focused. So feminine power is going to be, again, inner focused, as you might expect. It's going to come within. It's going to be often nonverbal. It speaks to us in images, in feelings and desires.
Mm-hmm.
And where that helps is because in the masculine, it's more like the mind making the decisions. Gee, what do I want to be? How do I want to go after it? How do I make my company more strategically important? All of that kind of questions. The feminine power, you're going within and saying, what do I desire to create in my business, in my life? What do I desire to experience? How do I desire to contribute? And is going to help us to bring up these desires and bring them into actuality. So again, in the best of all possible worlds, what I like to see us do is combine those two, the inner inspiration, including the inspiration about what step to take next, with the external strategy. And when you put them both together, then I find you really are way more likely to get both the success and the fulfillment that the person is looking for.
Yeah, I love that. So what I'm hearing is you have to combine logic and reasoning with your intuition. And when you bring both of them together, or not just intuition, but maybe also emotional intelligence, if you want to call it that. And when you bring all of that together, then you have these great breakthroughs. Because that's something that I found to be true for myself as well. As
Mhm.
long as I just followed the steps, I followed the logic, you sometimes get to a point where logic just doesn't get you any further because because there's something more, something that can't be explained by logic. Like your what you want for yourself, the desires or passions, they're not necessarily logical. So if that's missing in your life, you can't reach it by going step by step or following the path of logic step by step. You have to bring that other element in too, right?
That's absolutely true. And I've heard recently that the mind is very good at making comparisons. So if you have 10 different options your mind can list out the logical pros and cons of each one really well. But so you can start peeling away the ones that are clearly not workable. But when you're down to the two or three or four, all of which would work, how do you then decide?
Yeah.
And that's really where you want to make sure you're in touch with yourself. How you're getting into your body, in touch with yourself in whatever way you work. And I work with it through getting into the body to make that decision to say,
Mhm.
this is what appeals to me. This is where I'm pulled.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say, what role has this feminine empowerment played in your own life? Was there any kind of like a key experience you had that made you decide that this was what you wanted to focus on going forward?
So that it's kind of a long answer. So as an obstetrician gynecologist, of course, I was working with women for many, many years. That was my focus. So I wanted to empower them and work with them and, help tease out, when somebody would come in with an issue or a problem, what are their values? What do they want to get out of it? So I could then provide different options or solutions that would work with what they were wanting to get. So I was always doing that. So it was always part of it. And then a couple of years ago, I ran into Claire Zammit and her feminine empowerment course and took that and really learned how we women have made the shift over the last 150 years or so from survival to success to fulfillment, and how most of us haven't quite figured it out. And that's when it really went, oh my gosh, this is so important,
Mhm.
because it really explains a lot of our experience, especially those of us in our 40s, 50s, 60s, why we have the success but we're not fulfilled. What is it? It's some information there. So that was a big aha. And then of course what it required from me, being a very left brain person, to really keep coming back to coming into my body, coming into myself, because my natural is to be in my head.
Mhm.
So I need to keep on coming into my body, coming into my emotions. Yeah, and that was really, and I'm going, oh, and then of course it made sense. I've been focusing on women a lot of my professional life. Of course, it's like you would look at that and say, well, yeah. It took me a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, teaching women what feminine empowerment is.
yeah, but I think that's just the way we are brought up. I mean, there's so much focus on this logic and reason and just the way we learn things at school. We're we're just so much in this analytical mode of thinking that the intuition and the emotions, they are often neglected. We just don't use them as much as we could and probably have before all the education system changed and stuff like that. But how did your family and your friends, how did they react when you kind of turned your back on those traditional Western medicine and started to explore things like energy healing? Were people around you more supportive or more skeptical, or a little bit of both?
But I would say a little bit of both. It really started in the 1990s when I began to realize that, medicine just was not explaining why people got sick and how they recovered and healed from it. So I'd gotten curious about mind-body medicine, was reading Joan Borisenko and Carolyn Mace and learning about chakras and all that kind of stuff. And then I happened to have a client, a patient, I still remember her. And I forget which happened first, but she saw me, and initially, I think, for maybe heavy periods. And then a year later, she had an abnormal pap smear. And by this time, I realized that where I work in the uterus, tubes, and ovaries is a second chakra. So I asked her what questions about the psychological issues that go along with the second chakra. I said, what's going on with your one-on-one relationships, with your relationships with your boss, your employees, with your ability to create? And she said, not good. And I'm going,
Hmm.
bingo, you need to go work on these issues or you're going to come back to me next year with fibroids.
Mm.
She
Mm.
came back to me and she had cleared up all her issues. It was so good. So it really showed me that there was this that was going on. Now, I have to say, so I was kind of a closet Eastern energy healing person because I didn't actually tell a lot of people what I was doing.
Mm.
But as I learned energy healing, then every time I took somebody into surgery while the anesthesiologist is doing their preparations, I would stand back there and in my energy field, align myself for the highest good for this person and all the people in the room before I even started the surgery. And I would do the same thing when I'd be with a woman in labor or about to deliver.
Mm.
Again, just holding the energy for the highest possible good. So but like I said, I did that covertly.
Yeah.
The people I explained it to were pretty open. And my partners, of course, they all knew what I was doing. Um, and they were, somewhat skeptical, but it's like, hey, you're the senior partner or whatever. I had credibility.
Right. Yeah. So going back to your entrepreneurial journey, can you describe what your journey has been like so far? So can you maybe share some of the highs and lows with us? What stood out to you?
Sure. Sure. Well, as I think probably everybody's experience, when you start something new, you open yourself up for really big challenges because all the stuff that you haven't healed yet in
Mhm.
your energetic, spiritual, emotional, and mental beliefs, all of that are going to come up. So, I started this and realized I know nothing about running a business. So, getting a coach and actually I work with several different people. Probably the first big one was all around visibility.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
started posting, but this was in quarantine. So I started doing what I called little 1 minute quarantine videos, quarantine diaries, where I just walk around outside and just talk for a minute about whatever was going on and what was all of that. I didn't really speak to what I was doing because I was still afraid.
Yeah.
So the first thing was allowing myself to be visible.
That's a
The
big.
second part was allowing myself to know what I wanted to bring. And I really realized it's true. You have to do it before you know it, which is really fascinating because part of us wants to know what we have to do first, and then I'll go and do it. But it was like, okay, I have this general direction.
Mm.
Let me take some steps this way. And then, learning that that's okay to course correct and say, oh, no, it's actually this way. So it was learning that that was okay.
Mm.
So running with both of my inner beliefs, it's not safe to be seen. It's, I'm afraid of making a mistake. And the emotions that are stuck with that of fear and all of that, sitting and working with that with myself and journaling and feeling with my coaches, speaking to that, all of that. So those were some of the things, really. And I think probably a lot of us need to move through it because if you don't, you're going into your business, your entrepreneurship, you know, with your arm tied behind your back. So
So
it really requires us to do that.
that's so
You can
true.
have success not going through your stuff, of course, but you're also going to have a lot more inner resistances you're going to have to push against.
Yeah, I think it's so much more struggle when you have to fight all your inner demons or you're trying to suppress everything that's coming up instead of healing it and then achieving things with more ease and flow. At least that's something that I've experienced too. Whenever something big happened in your life, it might be that you became a mom or you started your business. All those life-changing events, as you said, they bring up those demons from the past. They do.
Mhm.
Whenever you get to that next level, when they talk about the next level devil, there is such a thing, right?
There is. There is.
So
It's a spiral.
it
It
is.
doesn't stop.
And you can either go up the spiral and heal on your journey, or you go down and you get down and you get so sometimes you go down so deep that it takes a long, long time to recover from that.
Right.
And what I see happening over and over again is that those ambitious entrepreneurs, they often focus so much on, say, the business side of things, or on the metrics or something, that they completely neglect other important areas of their lives, like mental and physical health or their relationships. Is that something that you've experienced too, or that you see happening a lot?
Absolutely. I certainly did that as a doctor, where I was focused a lot on my patients. Now, partly the job requires it. If I'm on call and I need to go in at night, I need to go in. You know, if I have a patient in the office who needs some extra time, I need to give her the extra time. So for that, my career actually sort of predisposed me, pushed me into that sort of mode. And then this year during quarantine, when I was taking classes and starting up a business, I was putting a lot of time into this and totally neglecting my physical conditioning.
Yeah.
And I climb mountains. I climbed in Antarctica back January in 2020, and I let all that conditioning go. And so so I ran into that again. Again, that was one of my up levels here, to say, wait a minute, I'm letting my business run me instead of me directing my business. Where's the problem? This is a problem. Stop. Okay. So, what I'm going to do here later today is join some friends and go on a big, long conditioning hike, because I need to do that. I'm a mountain I want to climb in a month. So yes, I've definitely run into that. And I think in some respects, balance is like riding a bike. You're always adjusting. There's never the right balance.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we all if I know what the right balance is, I'll be fine. There's no such thing.
Yeah, you have.
We're human. Stuff keeps on changing. Your kids are home, then you're an empty nester. Balance change.
Yeah.
Your parents get ill, balance change. You change your career, balance change. You have a new hobby, balance change. Your husband wants to, balance change. So
Yeah.
it is.
That's why it's so important to stay flexible. I think flexibility is one of the most important things that we can have in life, because life keeps changing. The only consistent is change. The only constant is change, right? So
That's
we
correct.
have to stay flexible, and we can't be stuck too much in our own ways. We have to be able to get out of a rut and know how we can adapt and change. So when you zoom out a little bit and look at all the areas of your life, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you're facing right now, and what are you doing to overcome it?
My biggest challenge right now, it's really still in this entrepreneurship. It's um, keep on clarifying what I'm here to bring, and then do it. And one of my coaches just a month ago said something, your message is your art. And I really realized, if this is my art, if what I post, if what I bring to the world, if what my programs or workshops or whatever is my art, then am I concerned whether people comment on my posts or sign up with my workshop? No. And I actually I have it over there, I bought bubbles and went out and blew bubbles just to remind myself, this is what you do. This is what I need to do, is just blow the bubble, just release it, go into myself, bring out what desires to be released, release it, and then let it be. Let it be. So that's my personal challenge right now.
Right.
Is
So
letting it be.
focusing on the creation and letting go of the attachment.
Right. And not define success by numbers of likes on my posts or comments or a number of people who sign up, because that is not, and this is, I think, a really important point for all of us, is we decide for ourselves, what is my definition of success?
Yeah.
What is my definition of success? Because if it is external validation, we are likely to be disappointed.
True.
But if success is, I spoke my truth and allowed my truth to mature and change like a plant growing inside. Ah, I like that.
I like that too. So I'm curious, do you have maybe a favorite quote or principle or a mantra that you live by and that helps you get through those tough times?
One of my coaches had one I just dearly love. It's universe, how does it get better than this? Show me. This is from Malia Jacobs.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah. Yes. And I love it because when I say that, first, it makes me smile every time. And second, it's a reminder that whatever I'm creating, I'm co-creating with the universe. It isn't just on my shoulders. It's a co-creative effort. And also that you never know what is opening up, what's coming down the pike.
True.
And we can ask and request that it get even better, because why not?
Exactly.
It can get better than it is right now. Today's a dump. It can get better than this. Today's a great day. It can still get better than this. So universe, how does it get better than this? Show me.
I like that. And what about other, say, daily habits or rituals that you do to keep your mind and your body healthy? So what do you do on a regular basis to recharge and keep your energy high?
Right. Generally, the first thing I do each morning is meditate.
Mm-hmm.
And I do different sorts of meditation. I do a lot of transcendental meditation because it's so simple. I really like that one. I also do guided, we'll listen to guided meditations too. I try to eat pretty healthily, so I make sure I have breakfast. I like to make sure, now that I'm getting out of every day, I have my windows open. I'm looking outside. We got marine air this morning, so it's a little bit gray and overcast, but I'll have my window drapes open so I can see outside.
Awesome.
Yeah, so this works for me. I don't always journal. It keeps going in and out of being a habit. So.
Same for me. I've had some times where I did it religiously for a
Yes.
while, and then it kind of like I stopped doing it for some reason. But I find it helpful when I'm feeling really overwhelmed and I feel like my mental capacity has reached its limit and I just have to get my thoughts on paper. It makes it
Right.
easier. So last but not least, where can our listeners find you online if they wanted to connect more? Do you have a favorite social media platform?
Sure. I'm mostly on Facebook and a little bit on LinkedIn and Instagram. And I have a Facebook group, High Achieving Women, Thriving with Clarity, Heart and Soul. So people can find me there. I am there.
Fantastic.
I also am on a meditation teacher on Insight Timer. I actually this year I love leading guided meditations. And so I do those on Wednesdays on my personal Facebook page and in my group. But I also have recorded meditations and I'm up on Insight Timer.
Yay.
Find me there.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing your story and your insights. I really appreciate it. And take care and talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you so much. Been a pleasure to be here.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show. It would mean the world to me because you'd help me reach more entrepreneurs like yourself who would love this show. If you'd like to learn more about creating a widely successful business without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity, make sure to stick around and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And why don't you help me spread the word and share this show with your friends? I'd really appreciate it, and I'm sure your friends will too. Want to continue this conversation, build real relationships, and join a community of like-minded entrepreneurs? Come join my free Facebook community for visionary entrepreneurs. I would love to see you there. In the meantime, if you haven't done so already, grab my free brain priming audio file for entrepreneurs and start priming your brain for success in less than 5 minutes each morning. Curious? You can learn more about how this works and download the audio file at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions. Until next time, bye!